Good evening, folks, and welcome to another edition of Sounding Board. Tonight we're going to talk about the new Batman. Yes, we got a new Batman. Ben Affleck has walked away from the role, and Warner Brothers has finally announced its choice for the new Batman. Fans aren't too happy with it, because after all, who expected Edward from Twilight to become our Batman? Ooh. It has got fans in an uproar. Even before he has put the cowl on, people are already judging him that he's not going to be a good Batman. The same thing was said about Michael Keaton. Who expected Michael Keaton to pull off Batman? Adam West actually had it the easiest because he was a different era of Batman. It was a different era, different thinking of how the world viewed comic books at that time. And then after Frank Miller's Dark Knight, people wanted a darker Batman. So Hollywood gave us a darker Batman. And with each incarnation of Batman, we have seen different presentations from different actors. Some good, some bad, some mediocre, and some completely outstanding that were Oscar nominated. But the one thing fans are forgetting about is this film is wrote and directed by Matt Reeves, the person who gave us the last two Planet of the Apes films, and those things were quite exciting. I've seen both of them, and I was surprised how good of a follow-up they were from the initial Planet of the Apes reboot. So, before we can judge Robert Patrick, we should first see how he looks on the big screen and how Matt Reeves takes the material and excites us or bores us with it. We don't know until we actually see it. You know, it's not like Sonic the Hedgehog where you're trying to convert a video game character into a realistic setting. And so this realistic setting has got internet people's panties bunched up that this Sonic isn't very good. And then now they just announced Robert Patrick as Batman, and now their panties are even more bunched up because they're not happy with anything that is done. They don't want to wait to see the final production. They don't want to see what the vision of the filmmaker has that they want to put on the big screen. They want their vision. There's millions and millions of man-children basically complaining that they want their vision of this character or that character. This doesn't fit their motif. And yes, at times I am guilty of it as well, because I've read a lot of the comic book material that they strip mine. But for Batman, he's like James Bond. You've got to stop and think, what does the filmmaker's vision of the property have? Ben Affleck had a vision, and Warner Brothers didn't want to let him do his vision, so he walked away from being Batman after he won over a lot of people saying, the naysayers saying Ben Affleck can't do Batman. Ben Affleck's going to make a horrible Batman. And the same thing was said about Michael Keaton. This is Beetlejuice. Beetlejuice can't play Batman. Beetlejuice is horrible. That's a horrible choice, Tim Burton. There are other actors out there that can play it. And one of them was George Clooney. And we actually saw what George Clooney gave us of Batman, and it's probably considered one of the worst renditions of Batman. And then there's Val Kilmer. You know, I enjoyed Val Kilmer's presentation of Batman, but no one else did. But the problem with those two Batman films is the Robin character is a lot stronger by Chris O'Donnell than the Batman character. So we're going to have to wait and see if Robert Pattinson can pull off or cannot pull off Batman in the end. It's the equivalent of being, I guess, like George Lazenby in the James Bond things. You know, he was supposed to be Sean Connery and just couldn't do it. And as time progressed, Timothy Dalton turned out to be the worst Bond because the material was never wrote for him. And he's actually a really good actor. But due to the fact that his material was subpar and it lagged, It hurt his performance as James Bond and his films. So before we pass judgment on can Robert Pattinson play Batman, the same thing could be said about Jake Gyllenhaal, Ryan Gosling, a few of the names they've thrown out to play Batman. Do we think they can play Batman? Yes, because they're considered A-list actors. And what has Robert Pattinson done? Edward as his biggest piece of material ever on film, and we haven't forgave him about that. Four Twilight films in a 10-year time span, and it's kind of sad that we won't give this actor a chance. Maybe he might be a good Batman. We won't know until we see the first film unveiled. We already know it has a good director, writer on the film. We've just got to wait to see what kind of presentation they're going to give Robert Pattinson at the end of the day. So until next time, this is the Sounding Board signing off.